So the soul exists, and the soul is God in us. Now, I ask God, where is the soul then? Is the soul like behind the third eye? Is the soul, inside next to the heart in your chest? Where in me is the soul? Because I have been told, the one thing I was told about the soul, I wasn't told a lot about what it was or how it worked or any of those things, but I was told as a child that the body is the house, the home, the encasement, the place where the soul resides, that the body is the temple of the living Spirit of God within us. That much I was told. So I asked God, where then? Then where? Is it, where is it here? Is it here? Where is it everywhere in my entire body? Where does that which we call the soul, where does the energy of divinity reside in that form that we have come to call the soul? So I asked God a simple question, where is the soul? And God said, well, it's not where you think. The soul actually is not inside of you in the specific sense of physical comparisons that we use in everyday human life. The soul actually is outside of you. That is, the soul is like an envelope, if you could put it that way. It's like an aura, an auric field that holds the body in. But it turns out that the body does not hold the soul holds the body. And it is a field of energy from which and through which the body emerges into that aspect of all that is that we call physicality. And how the soul emerges, that is what form it takes, and how it continues to hold that form or change its form through what we call the years of time, is dependent on the energy that the soul places into the space of the body. And it does that quite intentionally and with deep awareness of its largest agenda. So the soul's agenda is not unimportant. And yes, every soul does have an agenda. The agenda of the soul is the same from person to person to person. In fact, the agenda of the soul is the same throughout all of physical manifestation, all of physical life. It just manifests at different levels of consciousness. But the ultimate foundational basic agenda is precisely the same. So the soul is in fact outside of us, not inside of us. And it is what, in a sense, holds us in, so to speak. It's like a container or an envelope. Now that raises an interesting question, because I asked God, if the soul is outside of me rather than inside of me, how far outside of me does it extend? This far? Or that far? Or that far? Or how far? Where does my soul end and the soul of another being begin? And God said something quite spectacular to me. She said, nowhere. There is nowhere that the energy that you call your soul ends. It extends forever and ever, and even forevermore, out into ultimate reality. Its characteristic, that is, its density, does decrease the further it extends beyond its center point, which is you. But it never disappears altogether. So there is, in fact, no place where my soul ends and your soul begins. That is, my soul and your soul are really the same soul, simply the single soul coalescing, or I'm going to use a strange phrase, clumping up, gathering itself into various different little localities or clumps or units of energy that are combining themselves with themselves. So in fact, we are all the same soul. We are all one. We are all one aspect of divinity, simply diverging and not separating, never separating, but differentiating in different ways, in different locales, within the framework of ultimate reality. I know this is a lot of words to try to gather, but the bottom line, in terms of what it means, is there's really no separation between anything and anything else, that we really are all one. I I was given the little illustration of a lava lamp. Now, you have to be as old as I am to know what I'm talking about with a lava lamp, but maybe you've heard of them anyway if you haven't actually seen one. Back in the 50s and 60s, and in that era, there was a lamp called a lava lamp that had certain material inside of it, and it would be heated up by the bulb at the bottom of the lamp. And it would clump at the bottom and become one great big amorphous mass, just a mass of this material. But as it heated up, it would rise from this clump of mass in little drops, but instead of drops falling like from the sky, like drops that would fall of rain from the sky, these drops emerged from the bulk at the bottom and just rose to the top, separating themselves from, or I should say, differentiating themselves from the mass at the bottom of the lamp. But as they rose, they got cooler, further away from the bulb, you see. And so they got cooler, and then they came back down again and formed another whole unit. And, I saw that happening, and I was given that illustration as an interesting little illustration of how the soul of all that is actually works. That is, it diverges or identifies itself, it individuates itself by rising from the central core, and then at a certain point in its experience, it returns again to the core, and that system, that revolving system, continues on and on and on forever and ever and even forevermore. So that's who we are. We are that soul, one of those individuations of divinity.